Gauranga. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Trinadapi Sunichena Taradiva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Namaiva Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyata Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Tonight I'm going to speak on the first 10 verses of the second chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā. Chapter 2 is called Contents of the Gita Summarized. And this first section, the first 10 verses, is entitled How Arjuna Surrenders. So in order to begin properly, I ask you to raise your hands and repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you very much. I'd like to, first of all, chant the 10 Sanskrit shlokas, and then we will go through and I will explain the translation. So allow me to chant. Sanjayo vacha tang tata kripaya vishtam mashru purna kulekshanam vashidandam midam vakyam uvacha madhusudanaha Sri Bhagavan uvacha Kutastva kajmalamidang vishame samupasthitam anarya jushtam asvargyam makirti karamar juna klabhyang mas magama partha naitatva yupapadyate shudrang hridaya daurbalyang chvakvotishta parandhava Arjuna uvacha katang bhishma mahang sankhe Dronang cha madhusudana ishubi pratayotsyami purjaha varisudana guru nahatva hi mahanuvavan shreyo bhoktung bhaiksha mapiha loke hatvarta kamangstu guruni haiva bunjiya bhogan rudira pradigdan nachaitad vidma kataran nagariyo yadva jayema yadiva no jayeyu Yaneva hatva najijivi shamas tevasthita pramukhe dhartarastra karapanya dosho pahata swabhava prichchami twang dharma samudacheta yatsreyasya nichitang bruhitang me shishyaste hangshadimang twang prapanang nahi prapashyami vanapunadyad Yachchokamupashanam indriyanam avapya bhuma vasapatnam ridhang rajang suranam apichadipatyang sanjaya uvacha eva mukva rishikeshang gudakesha parantava nayotsya iti govindam ukva tushning babhuvaha tamuvacha rishikesha prahasanyava bharata Senayor Rabayor Madhye Vashidandam Midang Vachaha. I like to chant these slokas because in December we will have our Bhagavad-gītā Mahayagya, and it is my service to lead the chanting. So whenever I get a chance to practice the slokas, I want to take advantage of that. So now we will try to understand the translations to these. Of course, the Bhagavad-gītā that we study in this movement and in this temple is called Bhagavad-gītā as it is. When Srila Prabhupada came to America in 1965, he primarily wanted to establish the Bhagavad-gītā. And as he writes in his preface and introduction, that previously there had been many translations of Bhagavad-gītā in English, but Prabhupada said more or less whoever did that used the Bhagavad-gītā to present their own philosophy. So Prabhupada's intention was to present Bhagavad-gītā as it is. In other words, the Bhagavad-gītā, the Song of God, is the word of Krishna. So Prabhupada wanted to present Bhagavad-gītā from Krishna's point of view, since he is the speaker. So it would make sense. So that's Prabhupada's gift. So it's Bhagavad-gītā as it is. So in chapter 1, just to get the context, in chapter 1, the first day of the fratricidal war, one large family had broken out into two camps, the Kauravas and the Pandavas. And throughout their lives, these two families could not get along. The Kauravas tried time and time again to either kill the Pandavas, and they exiled them for 13 years. And at one point, just before the battle, the leader of the Kauravas, Duryodhana, announced, "I will not give the Pandavas the amount of land that can be found on the head of a needlepoint." So the Pandavas were rightfully, morally supposed to assume at least half of the kingdom. But Duryodhana said, no, not even needlepoint. So there was, and Krishna came to the palace where Duryodhana, his father Dhritarashtra, Krishna came on a peace mission, and Krishna came and spoke very simply. We don't want the war. You don't want the war. Very simple. Just give the Pandavas their half of the kingdom. No war. But Duryodhana and his party, no. So there was no other recourse. There had to be the war. So on the first day of the battle, it was arranged that Krishna said, I will not fight in this war. Rather, I will be Arjuna's chauffeur. I will be his chariot driver, because Krishna and Arjuna are like this. At one point in the Mahabharata, Krishna announced, whatever is mine is Arjuna's. They have just very tight relationship. So the conch shells are blown to begin the battle, and it is mentioned because Duryodhana's father, Dhritarashtra, he's blind, and he's sitting in the palace. But Sanjaya has a guru, Vedavyas. And Vedavyas is the father of Dhritarashtra. He's like the father of the whole family, the grandfather, the father. And he is the great, he's called Bhagavan Rishi, the incarnation of God in the form of a Rishi. And if you read the Mahabharata, you'll see Vyasadeva appears every once in a while, and he displays his amazing mystic potency. So Sanjaya was his disciple, and by the mercy of Vyas, Sanjaya is able to envision what is happening on the battlefield, which is some distance away from the battlefield. He's sitting in the palace with Dhritarashtra, and he's giving him, like a reporter, on the spot, live television reporting. He can see everything in his heart by the mercy of his guru. And so the Bhagavad-gītā opens, Dhritarashtra uvacha. Dhritarashtra asks, because Sanjaya is his secretary. And so Dhritarashtra said, so, what are my sons doing? What are the Pandavas doing? Tell me. This is the beginning of the war. What's happening? So the conch shells are blown, and it is described by Sanjaya that when the Pandavas and Krishna blew their conch shells, it shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra, but not vice versa. When the Kauravas blew their conch shells, it had no effect on the Pandavas. But the Pandavas and Krishna's conch shells, transcendental. So it cracked the hearts of the Kauravas, like an omen. And so Arjuna says to Krishna, take my chariot, take it out front. I want to see who has come here to fight. So Krishna says, okay. Krishna drives the chariot, and Krishna says, behold, see Arjuna? And what does Arjuna see? He sees his friends, relatives, his guru, Dronacharya, who taught him when he was a young boy all the military arts. And he sees Bhishma, the great-great-grandsire, who's also a great advanced devotee of God, but he's on the wrong side. So Arjuna sees all these relatives, and he becomes bewildered. He becomes overwhelmed with emotion, and he's lamenting. And then he tells Krishna, I don't think this is a good idea to fight this battle. And he gives all these moral reasons why he doesn't want to fight. A whole list for this reason, that reason. And at the end of chapter 1, Arjuna says to Krishna, O Govinda, I shall not fight. Sometimes, over my years of preaching, people have asked me, can you give some explanation? I said, yes, very simple. I give this so you can understand what's happening. Say you're in your home, you're being attacked. So you call 911. Help, come on, quick. Somebody's intruding. They're going to hurt us. So you expect, right, the 911 call. You expect, especially here, right, what does the police cars say? Serve and protect. Yeah, serve and protect. So you expect, with your tax dollars, right, that you call 911, the police should come and protect you. Now, what if the police comes, they come to the front door, and the policeman says, you know what, I don't know if I want to do this. How would you feel, huh? So that's exactly what Krishna's going to say to Arjuna. That this is your duty. Why are you acting like, well, I don't want to spoil the fun, but that brings you up. Are you ready to go now to this first part of chapter 2? If so, say, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears. So this gives you a view, what's happening with Arjuna. Feeling, right? He's feeling compassionate. But his mind is depressed. So conflicting feelings. His eyes full of tears. So here's this big warrior who has already defeated in the past even the demigods. This is how powerful Arjuna is. He's no ordinary warrior. He has defeated gods and demons and rakshasas with the help of Krishna, of course. But still, he is a mighty, formidable warrior. And of all of Drona's students, because Drona taught the Pandavas and the Kauravas, of all of his students, Arjuna was his favorite, best disciple. Even Dronacharya's own son, right, Ashvatthama, was not as good a student as Arjuna. So Arjuna was topmost. And what's he doing? Crying. Tears. Madhusudan Krishna spoke the following words. So this, everybody say, Madhusudan. Madhusudan. Madhusudan means millions of years prior, Krishna, in the form of a horse, Hayagriva. There were two demons, Madhu and Kaitab. They attacked the creator, Lord Brahma. So Krishna came as Hayagriva with the head of a horse, golden body, and killed these two demons, Madhu and Kaitaba. So this is one of Krishna's names. He has unlimited names. So here's one. Everybody say, Madhusudan. Madhusudan. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said. So this Bhagavad-gītā is part of a larger literary work called the Mahabharata. And the author of the Mahabharata is that Vyasadeva, who I told you about. And so he very nicely places the Bhagavad-gītā right there in part 2 of the Mahabharata. And actually, it is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, actually, the whole purpose of reading Mahabharata is to get to reading Bhagavad-gītā. All the stories and all this is okay, but the main purpose of the Mahabharata, read Bhagavad-gītā. And so, Vyasadeva, in writing this, repeatedly says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Because he wants to impress upon the reader, don't think that the person who is speaking is just some ordinary person named Krishna. No, Bhagavan. Bhagavan means a very, very special kind of person. Actually, Vyasadeva's father is another great rishi, Parashara Muni, another with great mystic powers. And Parashara, he has given a definition of this word, Bhagavan. Everybody say, please. Bhagavan. So, Bhagavan. Van means to possess. Bhaga, opulence. So what does the definition given by Parashara? Aishvarasya samagrasya, viryasya yashasa sriya, jnana varagyoschaiva shanam bhaga itingana. Vyasadeva's father says there are 6 specific opulences that is possessed by this person, Bhagavan. He has all power. He has all knowledge. He has all wealth, all beauty. He has all fame and renunciation. He has all these opulences at the same time, unlimitedly. Anybody here think they're Bhagavan? You may have 1, you may have 2. Say you have all 6, but do you have them unlimitedly? Anybody want to raise their hand? Therefore, Krishna is God. All in favor that Krishna is God, say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
That's Bhagavan, Krishna. My dear Arjuna, so, because of their friendly relationship, my dear, you're not going to use such terminology unless somebody is close to you? Do you go to your boss and say, my dear boss? Now, with your wife or your husband or your children, that would be appropriate. Here, Krishna, God, is saying, my dear Arjuna. But now he's going to chastise him. How have these impurities come upon you? What are those impurities? Remember, he was crying. His compassion in this instance, right? You don't want the policeman to be compassionate on the people who are attacking you, do you? No, you don't want the policeman to be merciful at that time. No mercy, right? And, right, so he was, eyes are brimming with tears, compassion, like that. His mind was depressed. This is no time to fall into depression. So Krishna calls this impurities. He's wondering, Arjuna, how has this happened? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. That word is Aryan. This is the real definition of Aryan. A person who knows the value of the human form of life. The human form of life is meant for self-realization. The human form of life is meant for liberation. So one who accepts that and lives like that, he's an Aryan. They do not lead to higher planets, but to infamy. One of the arguments later in this chapter, Krishna will tell Arjuna, Arjuna, what is happening here, this situation for you is win-win. Everybody loves win-win proposals, right? Win-win. What does Krishna say later? Arjuna, if you win the battle, you will get to rule the earth. If you lose and you die, you're going to heaven. Win-win. Either way. So that's one of the arguments. So Krishna says, the way you're acting now, you're not going to go to the heavenly planets. No, you're going to become infamous. Famous for doing the wrong thing. Infamous. O son of Pritha, because Arjuna's mother, Kunti, one of her names is Pritha. After Kunti's father died, Kunti's husband died. When Kunti's husband died, the Pandavas were young boys. So she had to take care of the 5 sons on her own. No husband to help. So the Pandavas are referred to as the sons of Kunti or Pritha. Then Krishna says, do not yield to this degrading impotence. Here, impotence means lacking strength, lacking power, being weak or feeble. A Kshatriya like Arjuna, these are not his qualifications. He is meant to be strong, powerful, righteous. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy. So right away, the first instruction to Arjuna in the Bhagavad-gītā is not Shanti. Krishna's not going like this, peace out, man. No. Krishna is saying, fight. Some people don't like this. They think, oh, Bhagavad-gītā is supposed to be Shanti, and you shake your head. Oh, no, that's not Bhagavad-gītā. At least for Arjuna, Bhagavad-gītā means fight. And throughout the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna explains why. So, that's all Krishna says for now. Arjuna responds, O Arisudana. Can everybody say Arisudana? Arisudana. That means killer of the enemies. And again, repeats that Madhusudana. Everybody say. Madhusudana. So now again with the arguments. Arjuna's coming with the arguments. Just like parents, you all know this. You tell your children, you need to do this, you need to do that. So especially when they become teenagers, what happens? The arguments. You don't know what you're talking about. I have to do this and I have to do this. I don't have to do what you say. Anyone who has teenage children knows what I'm talking about. The back talk, the arguments. When they were little children, yes, mommy, yes, daddy. But you wait, just wait. Teenager. So Arjuna says, how can I counterattack with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona who are worthy of my worship? It's reasonable argument. Reasonable. Then Arjuna gives another example. It would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Sounds pretty noble. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. Now here's a very strong argument. Say if I was Arjuna's attorney. Then Arjuna says, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. Right? There was a movie some years ago, Blood Diamonds. It exposed how diamonds come into the world at the expense of blood, human blood. So this expression, tainted with blood, right? When you enjoy something, when you get something, you want it to be clean, not with blood on your hands. So this is a strong argument by Arjuna. Everything, Krishna, you want me to fight this war, and if we win, yes, we're going to rule the world, but it's going to be tainted with blood. Now, Arjuna exposes, remember it said, his mind depressed. So now the confusion is revealed. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. So he's starting to see, actually there's no turning back now. Either I have to fight them and win, or else they are going to kill me. Like we say, between a rock and a hard place. That's Arjuna's position here. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. So, his mind is like a pendulum going back and forth. If we kill them, I don't want to live. Yet, now they are standing before us on the battlefield, meaning I got to do something, because if I don't, they're going to kill me. So here comes the turning point of Bhagavad-gītā. This is where the whole thing changes. Notice what Arjuna says. Now I am confused about my duty. I have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. So at least Arjuna is intelligent to discern what is happening. That's a good position to be in. That he at least is able to assess, this is what's happening. Now look what he says. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. In other words, they were friends, but Arjuna is saying, I don't want you to be my friend. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. That's a whole nother relationship. Up to this point, Krishna is just the chariot driver, right? The chauffeur, the taxi driver. Take me here, take me there, right? Those of you who've been to India, you get in a rickshaw, you tell the guy, take me to Loi Bazaar, Right? So the taxi driver, the chauffeur, the chariot driver does what the person says. Arjuna is now telling Krishna, no more friendly talks. I am your disciple. I am surrendered. Tell me what is the best thing for me to do now. This is the turning point. Because you've heard me, those who know me, one of the things I always harp is that the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna explains that we have free will. Free will means he does not force you to do anything. Krishna sets up the chessboard and says, make your move. And then you make your move, and then either the material energy or Krishna makes their move. And then you make your move. Like that's life. Life is a chess game. Choose your moves wisely. Right? Anyone who's played chess, you know, you make the wrong move, checkmate. Right? Just like now they're playing that stupid bull, what is it? Right? So at any moment, the interception, the game's over. That's life. The Super Bowl is a metaphor for life. Bhagavad-gītā. So Arjuna, we should follow Arjuna's example. Because I don't care who you are, the day will come. Doesn't matter who you are. The day will come when you will feel just like Arjuna. If it's not now, it's happened in the past, or it's coming to a theater near you. That you're going to be just like this. That you won't know whether to do this or to do that. But like Arjuna, you should remember and say to Krishna, now I am your disciple. Meaning, you should always have Bhagavad-gītā with you. I mentioned this last month. In your car, there should be a Bhagavad-gītā. By your bedside, there should be a Bhagavad-gītā. In the TV room, Bhagavad-gītā. So that when that moment comes, and you don't know when, let me reach for that Bhagavad. Let me tell you a story. I love telling stories. I heard this story from the devotee that it happened to. Back in 1973, there was this one young man. He was a drug peddler, hippie, you know, smoking and selling. So he had met the devotees and they had given him a book, but he said he put it on his bookshelf, and the bookshelf was above his bed, as this happens in so many movies and in real life. One day, the drug dealers came, knocked in the door, destroyed his apartment, and when he woke up, his whole apartment was ransacked, and everything, they didn't kill him, but he was like, he woke up and everything was on his bed, and what was the first thing he saw was that book that the devotee gave him. And he said, you know what, that's a sign. He decided to join the temple right after that. Right? What are the chances that book would fall and be the first thing he sees when he comes to? Yes, these books, there are millions of mystical stories about these books. So we should follow in Arjuna's footsteps and always say to Krishna, now I'm your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it, even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Again, Arjuna is thinking, this way I'm feeling, nothing material is going to satisfy me. And actually, this is everyone's position. Because we're spirit soul, no amount of material things are going to actually satisfy you. Why, there was even a song in 1965. I can't get no satisfaction. The absolute truth was being sung, but who understood? But it's a fact. Because we're spirit, nothing material is actually going to satisfy. That's why Lord Chaitanya says, I have come to give you the taste of that which you were actually hankering for. It is called Ananda. Everybody say that beautiful word. Ananda. Ananda is not material pleasure. Because we learned from Bhagavad-gītā, and your personal experience confirms what happens to material pleasure. You come up, you come down. I don't care what material pleasure it is. It has a beginning, a high point, and then it's whoop, done. There was even another song. Is that all there is? Is that all there is? Yes. In the material world, that is all there is. You go up, you come down. And sometimes you go down and you go down. Sometimes you go up. But mostly in the material world, you go down, you go down, you go down. So that's not Ananda. Ananda means your happiness is increasing at every moment. Now that sounds like a good proposition. Happiness increasing at every moment. Can you get that at Walmart? I don't think so. But Lord Chaitanya says, I have brought something with me, Lord Chaitanya says, and I will give you a taste, Purna Amrita. Amrita means this, deathless nectar, this Ananda, Purna, full taste, and you just need a drop. Lord Chaitanya says that one drop of love of God can flood the whole universe, just a drop. So that's all we need, is a drop. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya says, if you want to get a taste of that which everyone is hankering for, but they don't know where to get it, you get it by chanting this Maha Mantra, which Lord Chaitanya has given us. Hopefully, everyone has Japa Mala. And hopefully, everyone is chanting every day, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And the more you chant, the more you hear, little by little, you will begin to perceive that taste. And look, if you look on the altar, Gaur Nitai, how their arms are outstretched like this. Why is that? Because they're intoxicated with love of God. And guess what? It's legal. Now there's so much talk about legalizing marijuana. And marijuana is the same thing, up, down. But this chanting of the Mahamantra, even in the beginning days of this movement, Prabhupada was explaining to the hippies And one time Prabhupada said, what is Krishna consciousness? He said to them, imagine a room full of LSD. That's not even compared to one drop of this love of God, Purna Amrita. And the devotees, yeah, we like this, Prabhupada. And so they wrote a pamphlet, Stay High Forever. Yes. But you have to chant. You have to chant, and Lord Chaitanya said, actually, you should chant without cessation. The name Prabhupada gave me, Nirantara, without cessation. So I want to come to that stage where I'm constantly chanting, hearing, preaching, singing, talking about the most wonderful Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Everybody chant the Maha Mantra.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
A nice lady came up to me in the kirtan and said that she would like me to say something about my experience in South Africa. So I will tell one story. So it has to do, I was in South Africa in 2008. And I was there twice. And the second time I was there for like 15 days. So one day the devotees, it was Janmashtami Day, Krishna Janmashtami Day. And the devotees said, we're going to go and do the Harinam with the drums and the kartals in the streets. So I was like a little nervous, because they had told me all these stories, how people get killed and it can be kind of dangerous. So I was like, am I ready for this? The devotee said, don't worry, come on. So we left the temple, and not far from the temple is this shopping area. So we're going through the shops, and there's this one very ecstatic devotee. His name is Madhu Mangal. He's a jolly, very nice Brahmin Indian devotee, so jolly and loving, and he's leading the party. And all of a sudden, we go by where these African ladies are selling vegetables. All of a sudden, the African ladies start clapping and chanting with us. And I said, wow, this is an amazing, and they were really into it. And they were chanting. I said, this is amazing. And I can still remember that. If I close my eyes, we came along and they stopped selling their vegetables and they had lots of soul. They were really into it. They were really chanting. I found that quite significant. Let's finish up the final verses. Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, O Govinda, I shall not fight, and then fell silent. So then Sanjaya says to his master Dhritarashtra, at that time, Krishna was smiling. In other words, Arjuna surrendered, right? But he's still hesitant and he's still arguing. But Krishna is smiling, meaning, don't worry, I've got it. Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. So right after this, Krishna begins the proper instructions of the Bhagavad-gītā, to be continued. Now, I'm not going to be here next month, because next month I'm going to Panama in Chile, but I'll be back in April. We'll pick up from where we left off. I hope to see you at that time. Now, let's taste this Maha Mantra. Are you ready to chant?
Yes.
And the key to chanting, couple of things. You chant like a child crying out to its mother. You chant from the heart. And don't worry about anything. Look at Krishna, call out to him, and try to hear. Chant and hear. That's chanting. It's very simple. Everybody got an ear? Everybody got 2 ears? Everybody's got a tongue? You're hired. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All the ladies. All the men. Everybody, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So until I see you again, may Krishna bless you, protect you, and maintain you. Thank you for listening. Hare Krishna.
Hare